about the guidance of exceptional power on how our actionable agenda can inform the lasting success of not only this conference, but international solidarity that leaves no one behind. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Now it's my distinct pleasure and privilege to invite Mr. Ban Ki-moon, Secretary General of the United Nations, to make his opening statement.
Your Excellency, Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta, President of Kenya, Your Excellency, Mr. Edward Scandi, Vice President of Uganda, Your Excellency Dr. Hamad bin Abdulaziz Al-Kawari, President of the 13th UNCTAD, Mr. Mukisa Kitui, Secretary General of the UNCTAD, Her Excellency Dr. Amina Mohamed, Cabinet Secretary of Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Kenya, Excellencies, distinguished ministers, heads of delegations, distinguished representatives of civil societies and private sectors, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to join you here in Nairobi for the opening of the 14th session of the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. I thank His Excellency President Kenyatta of Kenya for welcoming all of us so warmly here in Kenya. I also thank the Vice President of Uganda and former President of 13th UNCTAD and many other distinguished delegations here. The high level of representation here is a testament to the importance of this conference. Every 4 years since 1964, UNCTAD sessions have provided an opportunity for United Nations member states to work together to redress economic inequalities in trade, finance, technology, and investment. This is the second time that an UNCTAD conference has come to Kenya, Nairobi. Nairobi played host to UNCTAD 4 in this same conference center just over 4 decades ago. Much has changed since in 40 years, but many of the challenges raised at UNCTAD 4 remain on the international agenda. The vulnerability of developing countries to volatile commodity markets was a main focus at UNCTAD 4. Today, with the global trade slowdown and declines in commodity prices, this issue is again a hot button development issues. But beyond trade, a bigger and more complex set of questions challenges the international community. Vulnerability today derives not only from volatile markets or from social instability, but also from a fragile global environment weakened by climate change. UNCTAD 14 is the first major United Nations conference since last year's landmark adoption of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, the Addis Ababa Action Agenda, and Paris Agreement on Climate Change. The 2030 Agenda will guide global collective action for sustainable development over the next 15 years. The 17 Sustainable Development Goals offer a blueprint for how the global economy, society, and environment should look in 2030, along with the specific actions that will be required at global, regional, and national levels. And the Addis Agenda provides a comprehensive framework for financing sustainable development. Countries this year have just begun the challenging task of implementation of sustainable development goals and climate change. It is therefore fitting that the theme of UNCTAD 14 is from decision to action. But the successful actions we will need over the next 15 years, especially in the area of trade, investment, technology, and finance, require that we tap the full potential of all actors, promote innovation, and correct unsustainable trends. There are worrying signs that people around the world are increasingly unhappy with the state of the global economy. High inequality, stagnant incomes, not enough jobs, especially for youth, and too little cause for optimism stoke legitimate fears for the future for many in all the regions. The global trade slowdown and the lack of productive investment have sharpened the deep divide between those who have benefited from globalization and those who continue to feel left behind. And rather than working to change the economic model for better, many actual and would-be leaders are instead embracing protectionism and even xenophobia. The vision set out in the SDGs for people, planet, prosperity, and peace will not succeed if shocks and stresses in our global economic and financial system are not properly addressed. Trade must provide prosperity in ways that work for people and planet and respond to the challenges of climate change. The regulatory frameworks governing trade, investment in agricultural production, and technology related to agricultural productivity play a critical role. Incentive structures in financial markets, both at the level of institutions and the individual decision maker, need to be aligned with the social objectives in order to avoid large income disparities. We must also put a proper value on assets such as ecosystem services and correctly priced systemic and interconnected risks such as that posed by climate change. There are more than enough savings in the global economy to drive the transformation that the SDGs call for, but our investments need to become better aligned with the sustainable development. My message to you today is that the SDGs represent the change we need to restore people's trust in the global economy. The SDGs represent an enormous opportunity to make our economy work for dignity for, prosperity for, and a better planet for all. UNCTAD, with its integrated approach to trade and development, has a vital role to play in implementing the interdependent, holistic, sustainable development agenda. Member states of the United Nations and UNCTAD have recognized UNCTAD's importance. That is why, in the Addis Ababa Action Agenda, they committed to strengthen the role of UNCTAD in the UN system for the integrated treatment of trade, finance, technology, investment, and sustainable development. The 14th UNCTAD conference must now establish how UNCTAD will contribute to meeting the challenges of achieving sustainable development goals. The sustainable development goals spell out an ambitious vision of how people and planet can benefit from a vibrant global economy. Today, I call on all member states to agree here in Nairobi on deeper cooperation on trade and development that will bring us closer to this vision. Trade, finance, technology, and investment can be positive forces to end poverty. Used wisely, they can ensure that we live no one behind. Your collective efforts can renew our spirit of international engagement. And this engagement must go far beyond governments. It must involve everyone: heads of state and government, parliamentarians, leaders from business and civil society, young entrepreneurs, and philanthropists. You can count on the UNCTAD Secretariat and the entire UN system to support your efforts and implement your vision. We must work together across the sectors and industries in broader and deeper partnership. The World Investment Forum, which will open tomorrow as part of this conference, has been a trailblazer, mobilizing the global business community to play a key role by investing in ways that will support the achievement of the SDGs. Trillions of dollars are needed. Governments and the private sector must align their practices. Financing must flow to the sectors and countries that need it most, so that the infrastructure needed to develop sustainably and limit global climate change is available to all of us. The private sector has an unprecedented opportunity to help create clean energy, climate resilient, and sustainable economies. And these innovative engines of economic growth can reawaken the prospect of opportunity and prosperity for all. This is my last UNCTAD as Secretary General of the United Nations. In my 10 years as Secretary General, I have seen UNCTAD shift and adapt to the new complex challenges. It's my sincere hope that UNCTAD 14 will provide the impetus we need to accelerate our efforts to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let us work together to make this world a better world where nobody will be left behind. And I thank you for your leadership and wish you a productive conference. I thank you.